Last week, Bungie talked about Trials, the cheater issue with Trials, and the rewards issue with Trials. This week, they are tackling their next problem: seasonal content and bounties. So let's talk about what they said. First up, seasonal content. As Bungie has mentioned, the game cannot keep growing infinitely. It takes a lot of resources to maintain that level of growth just purely on a technical level. However, losing seasonal content isn't great for players who would like to take a break from the game. They don't have a batch of content to dig through and complete, only the current season. The evolving world portion of seasons has also overwhelmingly under-delivered, and it's tough to be a part of the narrative experience when you can't go back and play any of that narrative experience. In year 4 of Destiny 2, Bungie wants to build a better interconnected narrative and let players be a part of that narrative regardless of when they enter that year. So if you're playing sometime next year, you could go and play Season 12 and 13's narrative content. I'm making the assumption based on how this is phrased that you will be able to go back to only the current year's available content. So if you're playing in March 2022, I don't think you'd be able to access Season 12's content, but that's just a guess. Next are seasonal activities. Starting in Season 12, the core seasonal activities will stick around, again, I assume for that year only, based on the title of this paragraph named "Activities Will Last the Entire Year." Bungie plans on removing a lot of the prerequisite content that you needed to do before you entered the activity itself, and they plan on removing a lot of the bulk that came with it so that the only thing you'd play is the activity itself. They give an example: the sundial. If this new system was in place right now, the Saving Saint 14 questline would have stayed around, the 2 exotic quests from that season would have stayed around, and so would the sundial. Things like the obelisks would be retired along with Fractaline in order to reduce clutter and not completely overload people who choose to come back to the game after the season has ended. That is the plan that they would like to execute on in Season 12 and beyond, but as always with these early posts, things are subject to change. How about rewards? You know, the reason to keep doing these activities? Bungie is planning on carrying a season's rewards forward during the year. They want people to be a part of the chase during the year and to reduce the pressure in trying to collect everything a season has to offer within that season. Bungie will be taking some selected weapons from Season 8, 9, and 10 and putting them in an engram that will drop during Season 11. To continue the Season of Dawn example, sundial rewards would keep dropping from the sundial, although how they will drop will vary, since in Season 9, obelisks were the main factor in actually giving out rewards, and those would be gone. But Bungie is thinking about taking that a step further by also having drops come from other core activities like Strikes or Crucible, so that you don't have to constantly grind one activity for your drop. Next, let's talk about bounties. Probably the number one thing on people's minds right now. If you like chores, people do not like feeling obligated to pick them up in order to play at maximum efficiency, since the only thing that has really felt like it's mattered or has been worth doing is leveling the season rank pass for the armor and weapon ornaments, because God forbid we do anything else in this game for stuff like that. And boy, do I love swapping full armor sets and weapons around for literally every bounty that I do. That doesn't get obnoxious at all. By the way, I was being facetious there. It's actually aggressively annoying. XP and season rank gains are balanced around large contributions from weekly bounties. Bungie wanted to provide a large boost of progress for a small amount of focused play every week, but because they provide such a large boost, it kinda sucks if you miss them in a week, and they are strained between too little progress for people who only use one character and too much busy work for those who play more. Bungie is still working on the game plan, but they want to make this better by replacing weekly bounties with a system that gives players a set of non-expiring and account-scoped objectives that give a lot of season rank progress. Bounties are also are a part of what feels like every seasonal pursuit, on top of event pursuits. Right now, the balance is far too skewed towards needing to do bounties to do the seasonal content. Look at Season 10 as an example. Starting with Season 12, Bungie would like to steer away from this issue. Quote, bounties should focus on being an optional way to optimize for more or faster core progressions like XP or powerful gear by way of challenges. End quote. There are no plans to adjust Guardian games since the event is over in a week and a half, which is understandable, but future events should hopefully see an adjusted role in how bounties are used within them. Next, Bungie does not like that every play session has to start with picking up bounties for 10 minutes. Glad we're on the same page there. They are looking into a system where you'd be able to grab bounties from the destination map, but this feature would be several months out, Season 13 or later. Bungie is also looking to relax expiration timers on bounties so that if you're really close to getting something done, you have a little more time to complete it. Bounties will still expire at some point to prevent bloat and hoarding. Finally, Bungie will be attempting to fix the sometimes very varied durations it will take to complete certain bounties compared to others in order to have a little more consistency and to also perhaps stop this process of hunting for easy bounties instead of just doing the ones you've been given. Some bounties take considerably more time than others to complete, and they're trying to level that out. And that does it for what Bungie has to say about seasons and bounties. There's also a lot of info in this update about how Guardian Games is playing out, like an explanation as to why Titans are absolutely crushing it right now, which is pretty interesting. I've linked it in the description, but we're not going to talk about it in this video. So, how about some thoughts? You know, some thoughts. All this overall seems okay for now. I like the discussions we're having. I like the direction that these talks may be heading us towards. But like I said last week, it's delivery time for Bungie. Bungie is very good at talking. They're very good at hyping. They're very good at making trailers. Lately, the delivery, not been great. Someone on Reddit put it very well. All of this talk is just sort of coming down to things will be less bad. Maybe. When it comes to seasonal content, as someone who plays the game very actively, I'm not someone who particularly cares about going back to play Vex Offensive or the Sundial or anything like that, these Warmind public events. I'm probably not going to touch them. I got my title, I got my guns, no reason for me to ever touch it ever again, and I imagine there's plenty of other people who feel the same way. Replayability only goes so far. But it can make it hard to recommend Destiny to returning players who have not played for months or years, especially right now. The only content that players can come back to are the major expansions and the current season. And when I say the current season revolves around doing bounties and public events, well, let's just say people aren't really jazzed up about any of that, especially when most players who have asked me about coming back said that they've quit during Shadowkeep or Forsaken. At this rate, I'll just keep recommending people wait until the next expansion. I understand that there are technical limitations. The game cannot grow forever from a technical point of view. It may get too big to the point where it is unreasonable to even work on the game, or for new players to download the game, or for Bungie to maintain the game. For every activity they keep, that's one more thing that they need to worry about fixing or adjusting when a new batch of content releases or a new patch comes out. Look at Winter's Guile and Worm God Caress. How many times have they been broken now? So right now, this looks like a good equilibrium point. I think it's a good idea to keep story content in the game at the very least to experience those key seasonal moments, stuff like saving Saint 14. What I would really like to see confirmed is if you needed to have owned the season in order to continue playing the content, or if those seasonal pieces of content will be released to everyone, or if they'll be playable if you own the current season. Really want some clarification on that. I'd also love any notes at all on bringing back season pass exotics in future seasons, because I have not heard a word on that. My guess is that they'll start to appear in the following year of content, but Yeah, any news on that would be great because Ariana's Vow, kind of a game changer right now. The world-changing of world-changing events has been non-existent since Season 8, and if some things have changed, I haven't noticed at all. I'm more than willing to bet that if we destroy the Almighty while it's still in space and it doesn't crash into any sort of anything, literally nothing about any destination will change whatsoever. Hence why I would not mind seeing the Almighty crash into a planet, because at least something would change. This has to be stepped up in a big way, as much as I realize this might conflict with keeping certain pieces of seasonal content around. Bounties. Bounties. I think we all feel the same way about bounties. They are intrusive. They are ubiquitous in a bad way. They ruin the flow of gameplay. I am tired of constantly changing my armor sets, subclasses, weapons, rotating items, all for the sake of completing mundane activities to either progress seasonal content or event content. Season 10 truly has been Season of the Bounty, more so than any other season. Sometimes, I just want to sit in a playlist or an activity and not have to worry about completing bounties for some thing. First, it was the launch of Season 10. Then I was leveling to try to make sure I was as powered as possible for GM Nightfalls, which didn't end up mattering. Now it's Guardian Games for the exotic. 90% of the game is bounties to complete basic tasks that don't mean anything except to hopefully get the seasonal title and complete the season rank pass. Let me play the damn game. I'm sick and tired of going to the tower. Just let me sit in the Strike playlist for an hour. Need to see what Bungie ends up doing to change up the bounty game, because as annoying as they can feel sometimes, the entire gameplay loop recently feels like it's based on the existence of bounties. I'd also like to see Bungie address the highly competitive nature that bounties generate in players. With no shared progress on bounties, even easygoing things like strikes become a competition to do bounties the fastest so that we can stop having to care about doing bounties for that particular play session. That is all I have for today. Bungie will be talking about the Eververse next week, and I'm very interested in what they will have to say, considering the Eververse has felt like the one thing that has been off limits for any kind of discussion for quite some time. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.